everyone. Welcome to the Never Split Up podcast. This is episode 22, where we are covering the Jordan Peele movie, Us, released in 2019. How you doing today, Anthony?
I'm good. How's it going? It's been a while.
Yeah, we took a little bit of a break, a week break, but we're back, and we're covering a pretty big movie. This is our second Jordan Peele movie. We covered Get Out, obviously his first feature-length movie. That was a while back. That was episode 10 of our podcast. We covered Get Out. That was when we first started posting to YouTube. So check that out on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you haven't already. But we both really liked that movie, and we said we'd get to his other two movies, obviously Us and Nope. And he's got a new one coming out pretty soon, like a year from next Christmas, like a year and a half maybe.
Yeah, I think
around
2024,
Christmas. I think
2024 Christmas. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think it's like a Christmas release date in 2024, that's crazy.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll probably do some more Jordan Peele coverage before that. But for now, we're just going to stick with Us. And then later on, we'll do Nope, maybe in like a month or so. And then we'll probably do like a ranking video. So that's going to be a lot of fun. All three of his movies, solid movies. You can't go wrong with Jordan Peele.
Yeah, they're all well made, even if you have a preference over which three you like the most. No one can say they're not at least technically very well made.
Mm-hmm. They all cover important themes. Obviously, we talked about in Get Out how he purposefully writes these stories for black leads. So that's really cool to see. Black leads in horror, especially. We don't get enough of that, so that's great to see. There's different subgenres in every movie, especially Nope. I mean, Nope goes way out there with the subgenres, but there's kind of a little bit of something for everyone. And when we cover all three movies and do our rankings, it's going to be really interesting to hear from you guys, to hear what your rankings are, because I know they're all going to be different because they're all solid movies. It's really just going to be like your personal taste. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But for now, why don't we...
And we already know that we both have different tastes, so it's going to be very interesting when we do that episode too.
Yeah, we've already teased that because I kind of spoiled it a little bit when we talked about our favorite movies of 2022, but that's okay.
Too.
Yeah, that's okay. So yeah, why don't we dive right in and cover the... you can go over the synopsis and the cast and stuff.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, cool. So I'm going to give you guys the IMDb synopsis. Family's serene beach vacation turns to chaos when their doppelgangers appear and begin to terrorize them. Obviously, Jordan Peele wrote and directed it. We have a stacked cast. We have the amazing Lupita Nyong'o, who stars as Adelaide and Red. We have Elizabeth Moss in a great supporting role. God, she's so fucking good in this movie. We have Winston Duke, who plays the husband Gabe. We have Shahadi Wright Joseph, who's the daughter Zora, and she is pretty awesome in this movie as well. Evan Alex, he plays Jason. We have Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. He is our new Candyman. He plays Adelaide's dad in the beginning. Her husband Josh, who plays Josh, he's pretty. Tom Heidecker. I don't know. I haven't seen him in anything else, but he's pretty funny in this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the main cast, and we'll get into our overall thoughts, but again, fuck the Academy for not recognizing Lupita Nyong'o in this movie. So that's the cast. Michael Abels does the music again, the score for Jordan Peele, which he didn't Get Out. And I remember I specifically shouted out that score, and this score is just, to me, like, even better. I remember when this movie came out, I would go running to the score of this movie when they're like dance fighting that scene. I would go running to that score. It's so fucking good. So yeah, Jordan Peele knows how to get someone to score his movie. It's so damn good. But yeah, this movie got a bigger budget than Get Out. I think Get Out was made for like $4 million. This one was $20 million, and it still grossed. I think it grossed literally like the same amount as Get Out. It grossed like $256 million worldwide. So another big hit for Jordan Peele. This is going to be an interesting one to talk about because it just has so much going on. There's so many different themes, and it's not as in your face, like obvious what the themes are as Get Out was.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to talk about and get both of our perspectives.
Yeah, definitely. Even when you are thinking about the themes, because I was conscious of the themes while doing my rewatch, it's still hard to really, pinpoint. It really
Right,
takes. I watched it with Jackie, and it really took us talking about it after the fact to really like kind of talk about, and we'll talk about it in this episode, what really he was going for. But they're still there, and they're still at the forefront, but they're hidden more, even more so in Get
right.
Out. So yeah,
I agree.
yeah. Why don't we get into the overall thoughts? I'll go first. I
Okay.
remember, and I touched on this last time. I remember when the trailers started coming out for us, off the back of Get Out and its huge success. Everyone was pumped to see what Jordan Peele was going to do next, and the trailers came out for this, and everyone was like, "What the fuck? Like, what is this?" It was so like different and radical. I mean, you had the same family playing the actors playing different characters, and they're in their living room, and like I remember the trailers being perfect because it showed not too much. It showed enough though, because it really piqued everyone's interest. It definitely piqued my interest, and that's probably
Right.
why it did so well at the box office, because we all knew how crazy Get Out was, and this looked like he was just taking it to the next level. And in some cases, he definitely did. And we'll get into that. But I like this movie. It's a lot of fun. It's the humor is definitely more at the forefront in this movie, and the humor works for me. I love the family dynamic between the dad and the son and the daughter. Um, I always forget their names, but like his name is Gabe, right? The dad.
Yeah, and then Zora and Jason are the kids.
Zora and Jason. That's right. Okay, I'm so bad with names, but
It's all right. Well, yeah, we'll get to
yeah,
that.
the
Yeah.
I love the setup to this movie, that you really kind of you really understand the family dynamic, and it lets you kind of believe that they're like a tight knit family in a way, but it doesn't overdo it. Like, it's not drawn out. It does it tastefully. He's really good at that, developing characters like in a quick manner. Um, yeah, this movie's just fun. I it's hard for me not to like say too many spoilers. I guess we'll just do our spoiler warning now. But my
Yeah.
overall thoughts were I enjoy this movie. It's I have nitpicks about it. The way it's structured, I guess, are my main issues with the movie. How he structures the movie, and then the ending. I don't. It doesn't totally do it for me. The ending. Um, I know it was a very controversial ending when the movie came out. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I kind of lean towards not liking it, but I'm okay with it. I don't. It doesn't ruin the movie for me. So be interested to hear your side of that when we get to the ending. But yeah. What are
Okay.
your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I remember when I first came out of the theater for this movie, I was like, "Oh, I fucking love this movie." uh, and it hasn't changed. I do love this movie. It's I think I like how you said it has humor, like because it's Jordan Peele. He's gonna bring humor in all of his movies, and I think he brings that over from Get Out. But I do think that Us is his most like horror genre focused movie of his trilogy so far of films. I think it goes most all out. It's like a home invasion until it's not, pretty
Yeah.
much. And it's almost like a chase scene for a little bit after the home invasion part. And then, we got the actual like slashing kills. So, and that works for me because I'm a horror guy. Not saying I don't like, I love Get Out too. And I'm not saying I don't like Nope, but it's just, this is my kind of vibe of his movies so far.
Mm-hmm.
What else? I just love, and again, you know me by now. I really fall for characters, and was immediately enthralled and like rooting for this family. I love them so much.
Yeah.
I think they, like you said, they play off each other perfectly. I love. We'll get into it, but the fact that the family is having an argument over who should drive and bring up their kill counts as who should drive, I was like, that's so me. I would do that 100%. It's so awesome. I like that's the kind of humor I love that he played. I'm like, that is awesome. Like an awesome break from the tension. I love how he brought that up. I thought that was hilarious every time I watch it. I like the themes. I will say the one thing that I think I was hyped up after I first saw it. I think now that I watch it more, I love that the themes aren't. It's like ingrained in the DNA of the movie rather than in your face. But I also think to the average person, not the average person, that's not fair, but like not to someone who watches movies every day. I think after they watch this movie, to fully grasp what he's trying to say, they're gonna have to like Google it,
Hmm.
maybe.
Yeah,
And I just
I
think that
agree.
maybe like sometimes when filmmakers do stuff like that, it kind of like I think this might feel a little bit pretentious, a little bit, tiny bit, and I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it, but I think that it's a little more pretentious of a movie than Get Out, I should say, is in that regard. But I fully am aware of the themes, and I thought it was smart. I do just think it goes a little bit trying to be a little too highbrow, if that makes
In
sense,
its
in a certain
themes, you're
aspect.
saying?
Not in its themes. I think of how he presented them. I think he tried to go a little too highbrow and over the head of people. I just wish
Oh, okay.
I maybe I would have preferred more subtext rather than because the whole movie is about this theme. It's not about like he's trying to say something the whole entire movie. I just think maybe if he had the straight up story about the family and the doppelgangers and maybe had subtext about like what he wants to say rather than full on ingraining it in the movie where someone's gonna be like, ooh, I gotta go look this up. I gotta go see, what is he trying to say? I just think that
Yeah,
that's where people
it's
can
the
say
whole
it's a little
purpose of
pretentious.
the movie. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
that's the purpose. The purpose isn't to tell the story. It's really, I mean, it is, but it's also to get his message across. And
yeah,
that's where you kind of teeter on with me, where I'm just kind of like, tell your story, and if you want to have the subtext, do it. And I'm fine with him wanting to. He's a storyteller who wants to deliver these messages. Obviously, in every movie he's done so far, so I'm fine with it. I just do think it's a little highbrow and a tiny. I wouldn't say full. It's a tiny bit pretentious, a tiny bit. But other than that, I love the blood. The score is my. I mean, I'll spoil that the score is my favorite score of a Jordan Peele movie so far. It's fucking amazing. Um, I think I highlighted Elizabeth Moss. I think her scene. There's no other actress that can do what she's doing in that scene. I love it so much, and I think Lupita Nyong'o should have won an award, an Academy Award, not just been nominated. Since she wasn't even nominated. So again, fuck you, the Academy. Yeah, I love this movie. I am still on my high after I first saw it. I just could I could see how like we talked to one of our friends like yeah dude that's just it's a little over my head and pretentious like it's not for me. I could see people who are like that, and that's fine. This movie was more divisive than Get Out for the general audience, not for critics. Critics absolutely
yeah,
loved it,
yeah,
but I get that. I get that critique because I don't want to be talked down to either. And the good thing about Jordan Peele is he's not talking down to us. He just with this movie it's just like some people are like, well, what is he talking about? I can see them saying that. So yeah, all around I really do love this movie though. It's a well-made movie with great acting and some awesome set pieces and with humor, horror humor, messages, it's my kind of movie. I love it.
cool. Yeah, that might be that's a good observation. I guess I never looked at it in that light, and that might be why the ending doesn't totally work for me now that I'm thinking about it because it is so tied to the theme of the movie. Like the ending is
Right.
the theme pretty much. Like,
Right.
so maybe that is why subconsciously I don't really love the
Right.
ending. But so I'm glad you
Okay.
brought that up. Yeah, that's I never really thought about it like that. So that's cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up. I forgot. And the ending worked for me actually. I'm some again. We're in spoilers. I'm someone who I knew right after the opening scene what the ending was. I mean, I'm I watched hundreds of thousands of movies, so I knew the twist, and I think that's people's issues were like we saw that coming, or people were like, oh, I don't know if I like that our lead was she really a villain, which I like that question. But I think that I knew the ending, and I think again the ending wasn't about the twist; it was really about what he was trying to say. So I appreciated the ending, even though I knew right from the after the opening scene exactly what the ending was going to be.
Yeah, I think he could have handled that better, the twist, and he could have set it up
Right.
better to make it less. And I don't know. It's not even the way it was
I
shot. It was the whole what is her name? Adelaide. Adelaide.
Yeah, it's
Like
Adelaide, and but like she's really not Adelaide, but she is
yeah, like
Adelaide.
younger
You know, it's
Adelaide. That whole scene. So she never talks in the movie. The first time you hear her talk is an adult when she does the
are you
weird
talking
voice.
about?
We're talking about Adelaide.
Are you talking about the actual Adelaide,
Actual
like
Adelaide
the little girl?
never
Okay.
talks as a little
All
girl.
right, all
So
right. For the purpose of this episode, I'm gonna say Adelaide, like Lupita Nyong'o. Like the first time we're introduced to Lupita, she's Adelaide, and Red is like the one
our
in the
main
red jumpsuit,
character.
who is the real. Red's like actually
Oh,
Adelaide.
okay. Oh, okay. We're going.
That's how
Oh,
I put it in my head. You could do it. I just
wait.
that's like
Okay.
because
No,
I
let's be on the same page with this because
okay. So to me, I'm talking Adelaide is the one who
he's our main character.
cat. Yes, our main
Okay.
character
All
who
right.
was
Well.
really
All right.
Red though. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
Red
No, that's
is
fine. I
Adelaide.
just don't
Yeah,
want the
you know what I'm trying
the
to say.
listeners to get
No, I
confused.
know, I
Yeah.
know, I know.
Yeah. It is.
I
It
was gonna
is.
say the
Yeah.
villain, but like, really, who is the villain of the story?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I like how you brought that up. How we could have done the ending, maybe a little different. For me personally, I think it would have been more effective if it was revealed to the audience, even though I knew, maybe before their final standoff of who was
Yeah.
actually who, because there would have been more stakes in that fight. I think
Yeah.
that would have worked more. And then you
Yeah.
just had the ending of her going back to her family and like, oh shit, she got away with it. And the actual Adelaide, this poor Adelaide was killed after being trapped for all those years. I think that would have been more of a gut punch ending than revealing something that I feel like most audience like, okay, we knew that was the twist. We wanted to see how it affected the story rather
Mhm.
than leaving us on that note, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And that's one of my critiques when I talk about the structure of this movie. There are things that I would have restructured. I would have probably preferred to have that reveal before some final face off with the family. So you don't really know who you're rooting for. It's like because you fall in love with this family and then you realize the mother, the matriarch of the family is not who she really is. You get that confirmation and now you know the real Adelaide is Red,
Red,
so it would have been
yeah.
cool to know that going into like some final face off, but you don't really see her until you get to the tunnels at the end. Like after the home invasion, you kind of she goes away for a while, so you don't really get that. So it was more of a one-on-one face off, which makes sense. I mean, obviously you needed that
Right.
too, but yeah, I agree with you, like structure wise. And okay, well, why don't we start from Act One? So, what is
Okay.
your overall thoughts on the setting of the movie? And I guess we can talk about because it. I don't know how you feel about this, like the whole like the way we open the movie with them talking about the tunnels in America and stuff. Like, I
Right.
don't know if I love that either because it kind of sets up like a true element, like to it, even though obviously it's a fake story. Like it kind of he kind
Right.
of opens himself up to plot holes when he does that because he makes people think like once you add that to your story and you make people like think about that in terms of like realism, there you're opening yourself up to more criticism when there is plot holes in your movie, and there are plot holes in this movie. I don't mind most of them, but the fact that they're there and then it's presented in this way, does that make sense to you?
I think that I mean I could go. I could probably give you an answer for the plot hole if I'm like really reading into it, but I think that goes to what I was saying earlier about story and the movie and that whole structure should come. I don't care about what you're trying to say. The story and the movie should come above what you're trying to hammer home as in like a theme or a message. Like make the movie count first and then add that in. And I think, and I love Jordan Peele. I think sometimes he works the opposite way, if that makes sense,
Yeah,
where he gets his message figured out first and then
yeah.
he figures out how to incorporate the movie
So
into
you
the
think,
message.
yeah,
So I think that maybe that has a lot to do with what the issues that I don't know your specific issues, but I think that has a lot to do with it and maybe could explain why you have issues with some things is that he's really not focused on certain things like the actual story as much. But
mhm.
so you don't like how they like straight up pretty much hinted that that there was an botched experiment of cloning like right in the beginning of the movie.
It's not that he did it, it's the way he did it, like with the whole
Okay.
with the text on the screen and it's presenting
Right.
it as
Right.
fact.
Right.
Like because once you present it that way, you're now opening yourself up to like people criticizing like the logistics of it. Does that, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yeah. And maybe that's why he did it, because he has the theme at the very
Yes.
front of the story, so he really wants to like nail that theme home like from the very first shot of the movie.
Right.
Um, because, well, why
I
don't we
agree.
just talk
That's
about
why.
why, you know, we already said the spoiler warning, so why don't you go over the overall theme of the movie, like what the
Okay.
tunnels represent and stuff, so we can talk about it more candidly.
Okay. So I think what I take away from this movie, I mean, there's so much he wants to say and so much going on, but I think this really is a movie about, wealth and inequality and privilege, and how like some people live their lives without thinking that like some people have to just like fight just to eat and survive, and they're suffering below us. It's about classism. It's about all of the above. It's all that stuff that has actually Jordan Peele started the whole classism stuff with this movie, and now you see it. Like we covered the menu, we covered all these new movies coming out are literally about classism nonstop and the wealthy and all that.
Hmm.
And so I think it's very interesting how he presented those themes in this movie, and it's obviously also about the duality of like we're in this situation, but there's someone else who might look like us, but since they didn't weren't given the opportunities, they're struggling, whereas we had the privilege to go, and live life and be successful. And it's all this, there's so many more themes. It's also, I mean, the movie's called Us, and that's a duality between like us, as in all of us living, and the United States, and all. It's just, there's endless metaphors in this movie. It gets my head scratching to how much I can talk about it. But I just think that he also is trying to say that are we scared of someone trying to take our success away from us, or are we just our own monster? We need to look at ourselves, and like maybe the evil is us and all that. It's just like there's so much to fucking talk about in this movie, and obviously it's about corrupt government and all. I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. There's endless themes I could talk about in this movie. It's just ridiculous how much he does, which I love. But again, I think he's trying to say so much in this movie that I'm just kind of like, but I also want my horror movie and I want the story and all that. So it's just like,
Hmm.
I like that it's not a straightforward movie, but I also think that we needed a little bit more of a through line, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's what I'm struggling with because the through line can be picked apart because it's not at the forefront, and the plot of the movie, if you take it at face value, is kind of ridiculous. But it's because the theme is driving the story so much. So
Right.
basically, these it sets up that we have these thousands of miles of underground tunnels, and the government created these clones, pretty much copied everyone's DNA, I guess, when they were born, and started doing experiments in like the what was it, like the 70s or 80s. Um,
Yeah,
and they call
I forget
themselves
when, but obviously it
tethered.
didn't work out.
They call themselves
Yes.
tethered. Everyone has a tethered counterpart, and I guess, and this is just another ridiculous thing that they threw in there, like the government like just stopped cloning
Well,
people and just abandoned the project, which is supposed to signify how government has abandoned, the poor in this country. And like obviously
get
I
it.
get the
Right.
theming behind it, but in terms of like the actual story of the movie, it's just kind of ridiculous how they kind of just throw these things in there. And it's like, yeah, I get what he's trying to say thematically, but like, can we make a like solid story driven movie too? Like you're saying, like what, that doesn't make
We
sense.
get you
Yeah.
get the thematics, but you want the like literally like how is this happening?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Like
that's what you're
what?
trying.
Like
Um,
you're in
so
like
I
a,
got from that, yeah, I think I got that they stopped the experiments because they obviously, if you when you watch the movie, the tethered underground, they literally like can't speak for the most part, and they're like almost like a form of us, but they don't have the soul. So I think they couldn't figure out how to replicate the soul, and then to hide the failure, the government literally sentenced them to live underground, which is again, like you said, the poor and the homeless are just out and about, and
mhm.
it's all connected. It's just, but how are they like? How have they not done this before? Like, how have they not like rebelled? And I
Leaked
know
out into the real world,
they
or
couldn't do
yeah,
that until Adelaide, because Adelaide
yeah,
wasn't from there.
yeah.
And I do love how she's the only one who could speak, but she can't speak because she was obviously strangled. So, oh, so good, so good. But so they're doomed to live a dark life in a tunnel and an emptier version of the lives that us above the ground are living. And I get it. I 100% get it. But and then we're never really known. We're never really told why they even wanted to clone. I get what he's trying to say, why he
Hmm.
had the clone, but we don't get why they were trying to clone them in the movie. Besides just
Yeah.
having, I guess they want to replicate our soul. I don't know what they were going to use it for, but I didn't find that. I didn't get that of why they were doing it in the movie. I don't know if you had any
No,
inkling.
because the reason we even know that is, isn't it from one of the characters? Isn't it from
Well,
Adelaide or
doesn't
Red? Red,
well, yeah.
Red
Well,
kind of
sorry,
gives us an
I say red.
exposition. Yeah,
So she gives us like two. She tells like two stories. Like once when they first go and break in the house, and then again right before they fight at the end. So that's where I get all these hints and all that shit
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Um, it's very cool. Like again, I'm all for it. I just wish that it jived more with what was going on in the movie rather than what I was taking with it, thematically.
No, I think we agree on that. I think what we're both trying to say, and you brought it up first, was we kind of wish that this movie was thought out as a horror story, and then he could have incorporated the themes in. I mean, I think that's how he structured Get Out. Maybe he did it flip with Get Out, but he did a better job of writing a cohesive story and then throwing those themes in there. And it seems like he just, like you said, he had the theme first, and then he tried to fit the story around the theme. And I don't think
Right.
that always makes the best, movie. So,
Right.
yeah.
I also think Get Out was just like it's like you're like a dummy. It's like so obvious. Like this is about racism. Like take it or leave it. You don't have to take it, and you don't have to take that point. You could just watch it as like a crazy, horror movie.
Yeah.
But this movie is just like again, that's where it's kind of a little
Yeah,
bit
he had a
pretentious
lot more to
because
say.
it's not as easy as racism. Like he's saying so much in it. Like I just listed off about 20 things that I took from this movie, and that's not even probably the half of it.
No, yeah.
So I think he's just saying so much. And on the flip side, I think it's so awesome that he's able to deliver these messages within the genre of horror. So again, I'm
Mhm.
not bashing him making
Yep.
these messages. I just wanted I don't know, I wanted a little more from the actual movie with it as well, like to incorporate it better
Mhm.
in the movie as well. But I do think it's awesome that he delivered a movie talking about so much shit and used horror to get that message out. I think it's fucking awesome. That's a nitpick that I just wish that it wasn't so. I keep saying highbrow. Like I don't want to watch a pretentious movie, and I don't think it is. I just think it gets close to it.
Oh, yeah, I think we
So
can.
let's get to Act One. Yeah.
I think I could speak for both of us when this is still a really solid,
Oh
good movie. Like we're not, this isn't a deal breaker for me
no,
at
I love
all.
it, and
It's
I love
just,
it.
kind of, this is our
I
job to
keep bringing it
dissect
up
these
just
movies.
because
So
I actually think that's my my one of
biggest.
my only negatives
Okay.
is that it's just more about the theme. Which, but I still love. I mean, you'll get to my score. I mean, don't think I'm talking negative. I'm just talking negative because I have to have a negative, and that's my negative. But I do love this movie. Once we get into the actual story with the family, you're gonna be like, okay, he does love this movie. So, yeah. What did you think about the opening scene? I got major Lost Boy vibes from the boardwalk, like the Santa Cruz boardwalk,
Yes. Yeah.
when they're with the games and all that. But so what is it? Takes place in like 1986, I think, the opening or something like that, in the 80s, in the
Mhm.
late 80s. And Adelaide is at the boardwalk with her family, her parents, and damn, these parents are fucking dumb, man. So what is the dad like playing? The dad is Yahya Abdul Mateen. He's first of all, he's so jacked and so huge in this movie. He's just like a beast. I would never fuck with him. But
Yeah.
so he's like being like a dumbass. I think he was drinking and stuff, but he's like, Did he start playing a game? I think the wife goes somewhere. I don't
Yeah.
know where she goes, but she goes off, and then he's playing a game, not paying attention to his daughter, and she goes down the beach and she sees this like creepy like fun house, and she like goes into it alone, like a dumbass. And it's like a house of mirrors, which they always stress me out in real life too, the house of mirrors. But she sees a doppelganger of herself in the mirror, and we don't see what happens really, but after that encounter she almost like withdraws from her family and like stops speaking and all that, so we don't see right then and there what happens down there, but obviously I knew exactly what happened down there.
Mhm.
So I think it's a cool opening scene.
I thought so too. I think it was pretty tense. I think it was one of the more intense scenes in the whole movie. Actually, that girl is freaking, like you said, she's brave, man. Like I wouldn't have went in
Is she
there. It's
brave or is she stupid?
both. It's like, yeah, dude. Like I hated fun houses as a kid. They creeped me out. Like the mirrors and stuff. Yeah, no. And I guess kudos to her, but so stupid as well. Yeah, they don't.
Very stupid.
Yeah, and
And
it's
her
like
doppelganger, she
it's
does
like
good as her doppelganger,
the
like that
movie. It's
smile, like
almost
she's that
comical
creepy
in a
smile.
way because
Yeah.
the scene is so played out and so drawn out. It's like it takes her
but he
so
shoots it so
long
well.
to get to the beach, and it's like she's missing for a while. Like,
Yeah,
I almost wish we got a little cutback to the dad, like playing the game, like being like,
I
"Where the
think
fuck is
he
she?"
didn't realize until the mom came back, right? Then he
Yeah,
started panicking.
yeah,
I'm like,
and it was like after she was in the fun house. It was like, what the fuck? I think it was right before the switch happens because they start freaking out,
yes,
and then it
yes.
cuts, and then we go to the next scene or whatever. But yeah, I actually
I
thought
can't
it was
remember. Did
fun.
she see something to get her to go to the beach, or did she just walk off? I forget. Did she hear or see something? Did something entice her? I can't remember.
No,
Okay,
she just randomly goes onto the beach. She sees
okay.
the guy with the sign. But that
That's what it
doesn't.
is. Which again is another.
Yeah, but once she's on the beach, the random fucking funhouse like in the middle of the beach is what I guess
So hilarious.
entices her. Like I've never seen a setup like that. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I do like the opening scene a lot. I think it's creepy. Like you said, it's like something that's done a lot in horror. Just the way he films it and like the build up, like it takes forever to get to that point. And I like that. I like building suspense, and he does that well. And again, the score throughout this whole movie is just
Mhm.
it adds so much depth to it.
Yeah.
And I love it.
I think what would have helped for us horror veterans to maybe be a little bit more surprised is if she spoke in this opening and if she had more of a personality. So, you know what I mean? It could have
Okay.
made it maybe more believable, but I don't know. Maybe not.
And maybe a little chase through the mirrors. I wanted a little bit more of a chase.
Yeah.
I always have a good chase.
Well, no, I actually disagree with you there because I thought it was pretty creepy that they cut and now she's like not talking even though she didn't talk
Yes.
before, and like you don't know what the fuck happened to her. Like you're not
Yeah.
supposed to know.
Yeah.
But we really don't know the details. So even if you know that she's switched, you don't know what went down to
Right. You don't know exactly
So
what
I
got
thought
her.
that was actually done pretty well. It was kind of
Yeah,
creepy, like
really
the
good
unknown.
opening.
Yeah. So what did you think of the
Yeah, all
setting,
right,
like the whole setting of like them on vacation and stuff? I again, it opens up so many problems for me, like with the tunnels. Like, so do the tethered people travel with them? Like, how the fuck do they travel through tunnels all the way to Santa Monica? Or do they live in Santa Monica and they only are tethered when they visit
well,
there? Like, there's so many questions
that's
I
again
have.
where like where was this experiment based? Like, where was the location of the experiment? Like, where
It's
was it based? Was
everywhere
it in that
because
area?
the
I know,
ending,
but like, because the
it's,
tunnels were eventually built everywhere to keep
yeah,
them down
yeah.
there. But I don't know where it originated because when she goes down at the end, that looks like a huge ass fucking like experimentation. I mean, with the rabbits and all that shit everywhere, it's
Hmm.
just I don't know where, but I think that
Like,
they're
it's a
tethered
hub.
to us. So I almost think they have to be within our vicinity almost.
I would think so too, but that brings up so many logistical problems. You know what I mean? Like, I'm fine with plot holes, but like ones that are that glaring, like you have to address, you know? Like, I don't
You
know.
mean like as you don't believe that it's possible to like for them to be in the tunnels just like following us everywhere pretty much or
No,
like
like
end up where
and he tried to set it up with that one line at the beginning saying like there's thousands of miles of
right. Well,
hidden
the hand what was it
tunnels.
called? What was that called? Like Hands of Cross America. That's what the whole theme is too. Like in
Yeah.
the actual world, like in the
Yeah.
beginning and then at the end, that's where they end up.
I
But
don't know how
interesting.
far away they live from where we are in the movie, but like they followed them. Like it would have taken them forever. They're in a car. So the tethered people would have had to like they don't have cars. Do they have like a monorail system down there? Like like it doesn't
I
like
want
add up to me.
I
Like
wonder if like maybe like once they get to their like I don't know if they follow them like literally like everyday life like going to the store and going to the
yeah.
gym but maybe like
Yeah, I
for like
know.
I don't know
Yeah.
I don't think
But
it's
if
like
they don't
that
do
but
that, then why are they at a vacation spot and not where they live? You know what I mean?
yeah I see like
It's
that's the kind of thing where I'm just kind of like
you can't talk
I
about it
throw
too
it
much
away
because it doesn't make
because
sense. Yeah.
right and then if he wanted it's like he does I know he doesn't want to explain it on purpose because that's not what he's trying to explain he's just trying to give
It's
the
not the
message but
point.
it's also like if
Yeah.
you go too hard into it then you're like oh my god well what are they doing down there like are they like do they like you said do they travel with us everywhere are they just chilling down there just literally fighting for
Hmm.
survival and just to feed themselves
I
because at the
almost
end when they do the throat like the flashback when we're seeing everything when she's telling the
Yes. Yeah.
story,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
see like when they're at the boardwalk,
Uh
like
huh.
their teenagers are like on the boardwalk eating. We go down, and they're like struggling to eat
Yeah.
underneath the tethered.
Yeah.
So they are doing the same things as them,
Yeah,
but
I love the
obviously
people that
they
are on
can't do it.
the Himalaya, and then underneath they're like in the room, like going in a circle. It's
Yeah.
funny.
So they literally, I mean, so to that's maybe him trying to answer that they are actually tethered to us, but living. I mean, that's what he's trying to say. They are us, but a lesser version of us because they can't thrive because they weren't given tools to thrive. But if
Uh-huh.
you're looking at it from the actual movie perspective, your question is valid, as in like, well, how does this whole work? Like technically,
It's funny because it's almost like in creating this movie for the themes that he wanted, he accidentally created like a really cool concept. And like I
it's
want more
cool.
from this
That's why I
cool
love
concept. And it's
it.
like, please give us more of this, but like it's irrelevant because it's all about the theme. So it's like, But yeah,
Right.
I think of them as like being on autopilot, and it's not until
Yes.
Adeline, aka Red, gets switched
Red.
that she kind of her I think I look at it as her dancing, her ballet inspires the rest of them to kind of snap out of it.
Right.
And then because by the end of the movie they're obviously not tethered even before they kill because they're not
It's
doing
the
this.
untethering.
It's
Right.
yeah, they're coming up from above and they're not. I don't know, it's kind of like a hybrid because there are certain scenes like where Jason is able to like walk backwards, so his guy walked backwards, but they don't always need to mimic each other, so it kind of
Right.
again didn't really explain that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think at like once they start the killing, it's because Red has been building. She's the one who really isn't part of the experiment. She was just trapped there. So she's been she says in the end, she's like, I've been waiting for these for years, and I've been planning this. So she's hyping all them up to try to get them to untether from their counterpart because she really isn't um an experiment. So she's trying to teach them how to break to untether and to get back and take over. So that's the whole. That's why they start killing because she's able to coach them. And then maybe they revert, like Jason reverts a little bit because in that scene, Red's not around to help tethered Jason.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's just again, you can go on about this with questions and all this all day because it's just one of those movies where it's like he wants you to talk about it like this, but it's just there's so
Hmm.
much explanation to be given. So yeah, it's
It's
cool.
not
It's
that they
cool.
don't have souls, it's that they share a soul. And that's how she describes it, Red. So it's almost like when they switched um the original Red, who's now Adeline, our main
Right. Right.
protagonist, kind of embodies the soul because, she's able to talk and live a normal life eventually. She
Right.
needed therapy.
Wait, I
She
would say
needed
eventually.
Yeah,
Right.
eventually, but being on the top level, and we could talk about this thematically too, she's able to thrive. And whereas the original Adeline, who's now Red, the soul, I guess, transferred out of her because they're sharing a soul, so she can't do as much. Because you see her mimicking the experiment now. It flips. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Well, she has to. That's how she survives down there.
Yeah. It's very, very
And I think it's
fascinating.
also cool. It's all that's. I mean, the more I am. That's why I'm saying I got that big negative out because I am fascinated by this movie. And I love it,
Hmm.
and I do like how when Red. Well, let me just say Adelaide. So when Adelaide, she goes up. She, switches bodies. When she goes up, she doesn't talk because I explain it to myself as she almost has like this culture shock.
Oh,
She's like,
yeah.
so like I get to like thrive and like just go to dance classes and live life where like before I was like fighting just to like eat, and now I
Oh,
have all
yeah.
this privilege of like I have the opportunity to go to dance, I'm going to therapy, I'm like living a life that I couldn't have imagined of 5 days ago,
She's no
and
longer in
she's just thrown into
survival
it.
mode. Yeah.
Right,
Her
she's
family loves her.
exactly
There's empathy
right.
with her
Right,
parents, like because her
so
parents
it's
down
very
low
cool.
were just robots,
Right,
pretty much. Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's
it's
cool how
all
he's
great.
saying about
It's all
all
great
this.
themes. Yeah. It's just I wish it was
Right,
connected a little bit more. Yeah.
I think he did like Get Out was a movie with a theme, but like almost like he stuck to one. And this one, he is just like blows it up, and there's
Hmm.
so much he wants to
Yeah.
say, which is awesome because it's a big movie. But some people, it's not going to. That's why it's divisive. for some people because they're not going to get it. They're not going to be on this ride with him.
Yeah.
But
why don't we get into more of the second act of the movie? And
okay, when they actually,
this is my main structure nitpick with the movie.
oh really?
Is
Okay, well,
I
then
wish
get into it.
you mentioned this in your opening, how it's got more horror vibes than his other two movies, and it's more of a
Yes.
home invasion movie. I wish we got a lot more home invasion. I think
Okay.
that scene plays out way too quickly, and before we know it, they're in the living room being talked down to
Yeah.
with the monologue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
You
I
know I
know,
love a
but
monologue, people. You know I
oh,
love
it's
my screams. Monologues are my
I
shit.
like it, but we should have gotten that way later. Like we get to
Yeah,
it
I
so
agree. No,
quickly. I
I
think we
agree.
could have had a lot of more creepy moments where it's like the Strangers esque, where they're stalking outside the
Yes.
house, and we don't get a lot of it. They pretty much get
Right.
overpowered right away, and it's like, oh, okay, we're here now. And once you remove the mystery, and once you get that first monologue, it turns into a different movie, which is fine. But I wish we kind of got that first element a little bit longer, and that's, I guess, my
Right.
main nitpick that would have made me
No, I
like this
agree. I
movie
see
more.
what you're saying.
Yeah,
I think that especially not. I mean, again, advertising is advertising for a reason, but they advertise this for a lot as like a home invasion movie,
yeah,
and which is fine. It's going to get your asses in the seats, and it clearly did. Um, but obviously, that's not what he was trying to make. And I do agree though that I wish they built the suspense up of that set. I'll call it a long set piece, really. I
yeah.
wish they built it up a little longer. Like maybe once they, I love when they were trying to get in the house. I thought that was like very creepy and well done.
The
But maybe
driveway.
once they got in the house, yeah, oh my, you want to get crazy? We can get crazy. I love it. I
I used
love
to
him.
say that line all
I
the time
love
after
him.
I saw the movie.
He's Gabe. I love Gabe. He's so awesome.
Yeah,
But I love how he's just like when he goes out, he's like, "Oh shit, fuck this," and he runs back to the house
yeah,
when he sees him start. The kid like starts to crawl and shit.
yeah,
But to your point, I think maybe once they broke in the house, maybe more scenes of like the family hiding and like maybe more of the tension build up. But then they find them in a under the bed or something, pull them out. And I know the kid Jason, he does a little bit of that. But maybe if there was more of a fight and like maybe they're almost escaping the house and they get pulled back in, then we have the monologue, something to extend the initial break in a little bit longer with suspense rather than they break in, they hit Gabe, knock him down, and then they're all pulled into the living room and you know uh we find out, oh, they're us. That's the big reveal. They're us when they take the mask off. So I think I agree, maybe they could have done the home and the chase in the house a little bit longer, but overall I think it's a cool, because it's different, it's doppelganger, so it's a little different, but I think it's cool, it's well done. But I get your point where you wanted more of like the home invasion type stuff.
Mhm.
But for me, it's someone who couldn't wait to get to the next set piece, which is my favorite in the movie. With the other family. It's
Yeah,
so fucking bonkers.
yeah. So, Jason is pretty resourceful. So he locks the kid in the
He
closet.
is.
He locks his doppelganger in the closet. He's part of the reason why they escape initially, and then it's not until they what how do we get that transition from their house to Elizabeth Moss's
Well,
family?
so I think that so after Gabe ends up getting out of the house because he goes to get the boat,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
the boat scene.
what's his the doppelganger? I can't remember what the doppelganger's name is in the movie.
Oh,
Um,
I don't even know if they even have names. They're doppelgangers. I'm not
I think it's
sure.
like Abraham or something crazy.
Oh yeah, maybe
Abraham.
yeah. That
But
sounds right.
he gets out to go get the boat, and then that's when Zora gets away too, and
I know. Well,
she goes to the neighbors for help.
they let
She
Zora
goes
get
to the
away.
neighbors for help.
The
Yes, because
doppelganger
they're and
lets
then
her
that girl
run.
chases. Oh, and I know we talked about Jason, but Zora, she's the kids are pretty resourceful.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, they
Zora's a
both are.
badass. She's a
Yeah.
fucking badass. So she goes to the neighbor's house and she tries to get in the car, and he's like, "Yo, what are you doing on top of my car?" Because the doppelganger like pops up on the car,
Hmm.
and I love. I mean, if you're a horror director, this is how you get to me. I love when Zora is running away, and then her doppelganger, like in the background, she hops down off the car, and you see her just stabbing the shit out of the neighbor, but it's never in focus. It's in the background. Oh,
Hmm.
scenes like that are chef's kiss to me, where
Hmm.
it's not in focus, but you see it happening. But yeah, I think Zora gets away, and then what's his name? Jason gets away, and he ends up hurting the doppelganger Jason. Uh, and that's when because Red and Adelaide are having their little. She's having a conversation. Red's having a conversation with Adelaide, and try to like she has her snapped down and trapped. And I love how Adelaide, again, I don't know if I'm rooting for Adelaide, knowing who she actually is, but when Jason hurts his doppelganger, she's like, I think that was yours, not mine. So that's when Red stops and goes to check on him. I'm like, oh shit. She has, you can see throughout the movie when you rewatch it, she has that hints of a tethered, like, no holds barred, like just fighting for survival. And I love how by the end of
Mm-hmm.
the movie, she does that after she kills Red. She does like the like the creepy noises because she really is from down there. So I mean, again, Lupita Nyong'o just murders this movie, murders
Again,
as both of them,
we could talk
as
about
both of them.
theming all we want, but
Right.
that to me that signifies the breakdown of society. Like when we break down
Yeah.
society, we're all just the same fucking animals, like trying to
Exactly.
survive.
Exactly.
Like yeah. So
Right.
I thought that was really cool, that build
But
up too.
yeah, I do think that's what led to them being able to get away. Like they all kind of separated, and then I think does he already kill his doppelganger on the boat? Because I know he catches him on the boat and pulls him in the water, and then I think that's when he dies because he does the motor on him, right?
He pulls him in the water, and then the boat dies, and then he catches up, and then they struggle on the boat, and the boat starts back up again. I
I'm
don't
like,
remember when exactly it happens, but that's a great scene. Yeah, and
yeah,
he
it's
he
so
gets
good.
chopped up by the propeller.
Yeah, so they
Awesome.
end up, I think, all getting on the boat and then going to their friend's house, they're very wealthy.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember who gets there first. Like after everyone dies, if they all kind of get
They
there
all get there together.
together.
They all get there together. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Because we should say in the beginning of the movie because this family is going on a vacation back to where what happened to her as a child. We think it's what happened to her as a child. They're going back and she's having these like she's getting nervous about being in this area again. But they meet up with their friends on the beach and they're like this typical um, spoiled white family, pretty much, for
Oh yeah.
lack of better terms. But and Elizabeth Moss is like the complete opposite of her Handmaid's Tale character, which
Mm.
is so good. She's like,
Yeah, she fucking hates her
obnoxious
husband.
bitch.
Makes
Yeah,
fun of her
yeah.
husband. Yeah, it's like
She's like, oh,
typical
I'm getting this like plastic
toxic.
surgery, blah blah blah. Yeah,
Yeah, toxic wealthy white family. Yeah,
right,
it's like
right,
such
right.
a
She's a
contrast.
housewife. She's one of those like
Yeah,
housewives,
yeah.
and their kids are two bratty twins, like two bratty girls. Um, But and then the dad's like a jokester. He's like he's a douchebag businessman. But I love so we'll get to that scene because this is my favorite set piece of the entire movie
Cool.
when the tethered end up at the neighbor's house before and I think the Kitty and Josh they're like arguing over like turn the music down and I forget what song's playing. But then they just look up. The daughters come out. They're like, "What are you guys doing? Like, it's time for bed." He's like, "All right, don't worry, kids. We got to be up at 10." And they just look up, and the tether version of one of the daughters just there. She just fucking stabs her right there and kills the daughter. Then they come down. All their tether versions come down. They literally like stab the shit out of them. They're so creepy looking, and their movement. And Elizabeth Moss, she like gets stabbed, but then she crawls away. But then her tether version comes up and just fucking slits her throat. And I love that she's dying. It's pretty much an Alexa, like the speaker, but it's not called Alexa. She's like, Alexa, call the police. And then she's like, all right, playing fuck the police. Again, that's another Jordan Peele theme, like
Yeah.
social commentary, but it's fucking brilliant because it's so perfect how he planted that in there. So then fuck the police is playing when Adelaide and her family arrives. It's so funny. But so good, such a good set piece. I love it, and I love when this family goes in, and obviously the Elizabeth Moss doppelganger. She's the creepiest in the end. Well, besides Red, Red's pretty creepy too, but she's so good with her like facial head tilts and smiles, and she traps Adelaide upstairs too. And I love when the kids go in to help out. Zora, she fucking grabs a golf club. She's not fucking around. And then Jason, he grabs something to smash them with too. But I love how the creepy, one of the creepy daughters, she's like in like a handstand position. She like flips down and tries to catch him. And then Zora just fucking whips the shit out of her with a golf club and kills her right there. It's pretty awesome. I love that set piece. That whole set piece is bloody. Everything's like white in the house, and then so there's just blood everywhere. It's slashing everywhere. It's such a good set piece. And Elizabeth Moss, when she's putting like the lipstick on with the scissors to her face, I'm like, this is just A+ acting. She's so good. She's a scene stealer if there ever was one in this movie.
I feel like this was my favorite scene too, especially in the theater. I remember specifically seeing this in theaters, and I don't think we saw this together. We might have. It's been a
Can't
while,
remember.
but I don't think we did. But I remember specifically the audience going nuts during this scene
Yeah,
because
me too.
I kind of knew that what was going on, but I think for a lot of the general audience, because these movies were like mainstream movies. Like you said, they made a killing at the box office. So there was a lot of people in those theaters that weren't like super horror nuts. So, you know, they didn't pick up on stuff that I necessarily picked up on. So I remember a lot of people freaking out when they realized that there were other doppelgangers to other families. Because that was really the first time you got
Right,
confirmation that it wasn't
right,
just the one family. I knew already, but I think a lot of people in the theater didn't, and they were like, "What the fuck?" Because and again, the trailers and stuff set this up as a home invasion movie isolated
right.
to the one family. Where the one, it's like, why does this one family have a doppelganger? And going off of Get Out, I remember seeing the trailers thinking there was going to be racism involved again. The way the trailers made that the
Okay.
white family at the beach like was all weird and stuff, and like, oh, maybe they're behind it. And then once they die, you're like, oh no, it's not that at all. Like, yeah, so
It's all about the classism in this one. But yeah, I thought
yeah,
it's awesome. It's fucking
yeah.
awesome.
So
Because I
it
think
was a
that's
cool
the scene.
experience in the theater.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
mostly like that's like the most horror, like typical, like slash, not typical because it's not typical that scene, but it's huge horror vibes with humor in that scene at the same time, and that's what I love. So yeah, it's fucking awesome and gnarly. And after that scene, that's when they turn on the TV and they do see that it's like pretty much shit's going crazy everywhere. So you know, confirmation. It's not even just in this town; it's everywhere. Um, I love it. Fucking love it. And then they get to their kill count discussion, and they take their car, their nice car, the family's nice car, and Zora, she's like getting her permit or whatever, and she's like in the driver's seat, and Gabe's like, I told her she can't drive, and because he's hurt, she's
yeah.
like, he's hurt. You're because the mom, she's in cuffs still because Elizabeth Moss had her cuffed up in the house. She's like, you're cuffed up. She's like, and I had the highest kill count. And then they argue about the kill count. She's like, actually, Lupita Nyong'o, she's actually like, no, like you didn't kill the one daughter. I just finished her off, so I have two. And then
Yeah.
they're like, and they all argue about how many kills they have. I'm like, this is such something that I would do in this
Yeah.
situation of
It
the guy
was
who's
perfect. It
drowning.
was so
It's perfect
tastefully
timing.
like half
Yes,
meta, but it wasn't over the
yes,
top, and it was like it
yeah.
was still believable, but it was still hilarious. I loved it too. Yeah.
So good, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
remember
all around.
laughing
This
out
is
loud.
Oh, me too. I was like, this is getting me right now. Like he's talking to me. Like he's delivering this for me. He specifically made this scene for me right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
all
I
around
mean,
that back to back with the home invasion scene with them back to back with the Elizabeth Moss family scene, really good pacing. Really good
oh
back to
yeah.
back scenes. Really loved it. Really loved it.
Mhm. Yeah, and before you know it, now we're kind of getting towards the third act. Because now you start figuring out, like you said, the news channel and stuff. You start figuring out that this is like a, at least as far as the country goes, it's happening like kind of all over the country. And now they're in the car. I think the dad says like, never buying another boat again or something like that. That was a funny
Yeah.
line too. So they,
Aren't they like, trying to like drive to go escape to Mexico or something?
yeah, so they abandoned
Yeah.
the boat, obviously the boat, and they take the car and he's like, where, I think he's even says like, where do we go? It's all over the place. And that's when she kind of really takes charge, Adeline, and says, let's get across the border. We need a plan. Let's go south. Like, come on, let's go. So, and then they end up at the boardwalk, which didn't make sense,
Yeah.
but
But
yeah.
they find like everyone's already like the townspeople are all like slaughtered.
Oh, it's a fucking like zombie apocalypse war zone. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like,
which is all that scene with the burning car is so fucking badass,
mhm.
like with it in flames. But Jason again, you're right. Jason's smart because he picks up on that plan in that scene right away what they're doing, what
What
they're trying
plan?
to do in that scene. When they find the roads
Oh,
blocked by the
yeah.
burning
Oh,
car,
yeah, yeah.
and then they get out. Well, Adelaide gets out. She's trying to walk towards it, but then Oh yeah, I should say his doppelganger name because I love the name is Pluto. So Jason's doppelganger is
Mm,
Pluto. I think it's fucking awesome.
yeah.
But he also so Jason's like, oh shit, this is a trap because the car's on fire and there's like oil leaking up to the car. So he's like,
Hmm.
holy shit, there's a trap for the car. So he plans to ignite the car. So Jason moves and Pluto. This is when Pluto mirrors him again
Hmm.
and moves in the scene, right?
Yes.
Um, but so instead of the family getting burnt, Pluto he walks into the burning car, which is such a good visual, so fucking good,
Hmm. And
so
I love that
good.
they did that. I love that Jason is the one who picks up on what's going on before anyone else, even like earlier on in the home invasion. He has these moments with Pluto. Um, and it kind of, it again, thematically, it makes sense, right? Because when you're younger, you know, those social
Right,
constructs aren't there. So the barrier isn't as great. So I think that helped Jason kind of not relate to Pluto, but they're kind of closer, like their souls are closer than the older adults and his older
right,
sister. So I think that's what allowed him to kind of figure out like that he could control Pluto and like what's going on
right,
more than the others could. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing that he added
right,
too. And that happens a lot in horror movies too. That's a pretty common trope that the younger kids kind of figure out thematically, or not thematically, but figure out spiritually, I should say, what's going on, like whether it's a haunting story or it's something
right.
supernatural. That's a pretty
Well, I
common
think you're
thing.
onto
So
something because I think that a lot of times, just in real life, kids still have that sense of innocence. They don't really know the horrors of the world and all that. What life's really not all rainbows and butterflies. So I think he almost, like you said, he connects them because on the above ground, Jason is trying to figure out where he belongs and figure out his privilege and what he wants to do. But below ground, Pluto is little and he's like, is this really my life? Me like fighting to live and fighting to just get a good meal and eat and suffer. So I think it's they have that closeness because they're both coming into their each of their lives individually, so they're both figuring it out. So I do
mhm.
think that's their connection. Maybe they connect more. There's a theory that Pluto and Jason were switched, but I don't buy into that.
Pluto
Like
and
maybe a
Jason were
while ago
switched.
that
Yeah.
Adelaide went back down and switched them, but I don't buy it. I don't
Yeah.
like that theory at all.
I also like how Adelaide or Red treated Pluto as like a dog. And I think that's what helped Jason kind of relate to Pluto. And Pluto
Mhm.
kind of, why at the end, like Pluto mimicked Jason still. And he broke free from his quote unquote mother, who was Red, because she treated him so poorly. Like she really treated him like a freaking dog. Like he was a trained dog. Like it was like, wow. Like I
That
know,
fucking creepy Colin.
especially knowing what we know that she's the real Adelaide. It's like that's like you're a human. Like why are you treating another, even though they're a clone? Like they're still, I don't know. I just
Right.
thought that was like
Well,
pretty
that's
fucked
another
up.
conversation on how do we treat people less than us. Like,
Yeah.
it's
So do you think
very
that she?
interesting. Very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, that is interesting because she's now being propped up by the underground people. I'll call them, or the tethered
Right.
people. And so
Right.
even in that world, she's looking down on them, even though she's down there with them
Right.
because she's now the leader. So
It's weird because she almost connects with them at the same time she's using them to get back to her. She wants to take over again.
oh yeah.
So she's using them, but I think she does empathize with them a little bit, obviously, because she's been stuck down
Oh,
there.
yeah.
But it's all very fascinating. But I do love as Pluto's burning to death. That's when Red does snatch Jason away, and that's when Adelaide she doesn't even say anything to her husband. She just chases after Red
Yeah.
they end up at the funhouse where it all began because she just wants her son back. I do love this scene when she's walking down the entrance too. That fucking it's so beautifully shot, so creepy. And we should mention the white rabbits that are it's overrun with white rabbits everywhere. I did look that up just because I was curious about his choice for using rabbits. Um, and it symbolizes, I guess, rebirth. A lot of time rabbits symbolize rebirth, so that fits in with the tethered trying to start a new chapter of their life on the surface. But also, this is like the sad part that I don't like to think about. Um, Rabbits are used a lot of the time as test subjects, and
Yeah.
clearly that represents the tethered as the abandoned experiment. because they were getting experimented on. So that makes me
Yeah.
sad. But yeah, it's like
Yeah,
a
I think that's
duality for that.
the main thing he was
Yeah,
going for. He's comparing the
yeah,
tethered to the rabbits, like they're basically the same, and
right.
they were treated the
They're
same way.
puppets.
Yeah,
They're puppets. Yeah. So
yeah,
I think that's sad.
yeah. It's sad.
Yeah. Really sad. But yeah, I love again visually though. I'm like, damn, this is like, oh, so good, so well
So
directed.
yeah, I like this a lot too. This whole bus scene and then the whole scene where she follows Red. Really cool.
She finds like in the classroom. Yeah,
This is
this is
probably
my
the
second favorite
highlight for
scene.
me. Yeah, I
Okay.
think this is just because it's so intense. I remember seeing this in the theater, like on the edge of my seat, really. Like when she's in the
Hmm.
classroom and stuff, and like
So
the
good.
chase scene. It's really intense, and you don't know what's going to happen. But this leads into my next point, and that I want to ask you: what is your take on just Red's overall like purpose? Like, why is she doing everything? Like, I know it's revenge, but like, why is it like the what is it, the Hands Across America, and why
Right.
does she
Yeah.
take the daughter at the end and bring her down? Is she just trying to teach her a lesson, Adelaide a lesson? Like, why do you think she's being motivated to do all these things that she's doing? Because I'm not still not quite clear on that. I guess maybe you can help me with that.
I think that Red, after the tether down there realized that Red was different from the others, obviously,
Yeah.
she spent all these years organizing them to escape, and I think for them, she wanted them to take vengeance by obviously murdering all their counterparts. But she had a specific agenda because her life was pretty good up, in real life, and that was taken away from her by Tether. So she almost has a vendetta against specifically her, specifically Adelaide, but I think she does have a vendetta against the Tether at the same time. So I think she just wants. I think she wants to fucking wreak havoc and get everything going fucking crazy up there for the Tether, for everybody. She just wants it to be mayhem. And in real life, that's at a certain breaking point. Some people can't take it, and that's when you get all these fucking riots. And I mean, not to be get too political, but when that's the people at snap, and you get these riots, you get this crazy shit going on in the
Hmm.
real world. So I almost think that how much can one person take too?
Yeah. No, I
And
get
it's
the
also,
mayhem
yeah.
aspect. I get the mayhem aspect, but it's also like
Personally, because I
why
know what you're trying to say, like, how is
why
she
is
going to
she
ever go
drawing
back to a
out?
life?
Yeah, like what's her end game? Why
Right,
is she drawing this all out? Why doesn't she just kill the family right away? I know she wants to kind of teach Adelaide a
right,
lesson, and that's why
right.
she has the monologue. But like, why why do all this? I still don't like. Does she want Adelaide to break? Like she breaks at the end? Like, is it more
I think
personal than
she
we
wants to
think?
get Adelaide to that point of being her true self, what she does. I mean, I don't know if Red wanted to get to that point by actually killing her, but she
Yeah.
gets to that point. She goes back to her animalistic self, literally. You can tell throughout the movie as she's killed, like even in the house with Elizabeth Moss, when she kills the daughter, she's getting more violent as the movie
Mm.
progresses.
Oh yeah.
And then by the end, when she kills Red, she fucking like when she's like slowly choking her, she's just doing, like I said, she's making those animalistic, like even she like kind of like has like those like Tourette's movements and she's like snapping a little bit. So I think she almost, maybe it is to just get her to be like, I want to see you be your true self. This isn't who you are. Like you really are one of us. Maybe that was it too, but obviously
But
she
what
wanted to
is
murder
yeah.
her.
That's interesting you say that because then that unlocks the question, what is her true self? Because it's really the environment you grow up in that makes your that's what the movie's trying to tell us.
Right, nature
Like they
versus
aren't
nurture.
violent by nature. So like her true self isn't necessarily violent. Hey Craven, what's up? Say hi to YouTube. Everyone on YouTube can see Ant's dog Craven. um
He wants to get in on the Jordan Peele talk.
yeah. But it's just fascinating to me. It's not that I have a problem with it. I just love talking
No,
about it. Yeah.
I appreciate the questions because then that makes me even think about it more. But
Yeah.
I do think there's probably a number of answers, and I don't know
Hmm.
if there's any specific one he was going for. What her specific end game was. I know that the end game of the movie was to bring all this to a head and have all these themes literally explode at the end of the movie. Um, so, but it is very interesting because you don't. Does she really have an end game that's going to be positive, or was it always meant to be this mayhem and murder in the end once they got out? Because what else are they going? These people going to do once she gets them out and they fight back. They're not meant to be. By the government deems them unfit for the society. They don't want them to be living in this society. So were
No.
they, after the ending of this movie, when they're all holding hands, the tethered, because were they all taken down by the government? Like what was the end game? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what she told everyone. The tethered was that we need to make a statement, not just kill everybody.
Right.
We
Right.
need
Well,
to
that's
hold
what.
hands.
Yeah.
That was the statement. But
Right.
yeah, I guess I'm less. I mean, I assume that they got obliterated. I mean, you
Or
even
did
see
they
the
take
military
over and win?
helicopters like overhead. Like
Yeah.
they're just gonna
Or did
rain
they
down
win?
mayhem. Like, yeah, I don't know, man.
Which is cool. That's cool
that's a
because it's
lot,
not answered
yeah.
for us.
No, I don't mind that part. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's cool. I just
What do you think about their actual fight scene? I thought it was like perfectly choreographed.
Me too.
Like between Red and Adelaide, I thought it was. Oh, it's so good, so good.
Yeah, I loved it too. Like I said, it was probably one of my favorite moments in the movie. Really cool. The payoff was really cool. Yeah.
And it's like so much. It's like it's literally like a dance, but like a fight. It's like beautiful. It's insane. And the music. This is my favorite. That moment is my favorite score of the entire movie. It's so loud. I remember seeing. I saw it in Dolby. I just remember feeling the vibrations of the score. I was so amped up in that scene. So amped up.
I remember laughing to myself because like once they start battling it out, it's like Adelaide is not even thinking about her daughter at this point. Like it's personal at this point. Yeah, she's like, she's not even trying to save her daughter.
Both of them at the end, they're both just like they forget about their respective families. They're just like, this is me and you. Like we're fighting to the death in this moment right now.
Yeah.
And because she ends up finding him, Jason, back in the after she kills Red, she just finds Jason in the locker. She's like, okay, oh yeah, we got to go. It's not like her urgency once she sees Red down there. Her urgency switches from finding Jason to okay, we need to end this now.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what they just need to fight, literally end it.
Yeah.
I do love how Red she has that. I mean, I love how none of the tethered were able to talk, but Red was because she obviously wasn't one. She was choked out. That's why she's talking like that. It's just another good touch, and I love how she's the only one who talks. Or else that would be another plot hole because all the other tethered don't have all of the ability that we do. So it's very interesting.
But they do, and that's what's cool because Adelaide is talking. So over time, they can learn to talk.
Well, they do if they weren't in their environment.
Yes, exactly. And it's just, it's so, I do love a lot of the themes. I don't want to sound like I'm totally negative on the themes.
No, you're not, though.
Yeah, they are really cool. The whole fact that, like, it's like, are they the bad guy? Like, they're not the bad guys because it's
okay. Yeah, I have a question for you.
Up.
Who is the villain to you, and who's not? Like, who is your villain in this movie?
I think the villain is Red.
Like real Red or
both
Red
Reds? No, I'm just kidding. No,
like Adelaide. Like, is the villain the one who...
I take it more straightforward. Like the one who was the villain in the movie is the villain. Because
okay.
When they were switched as kids, like they're kids, man. Like Red saw her opportunity.
They do that flashback. Yeah, I know.
Red saw her opportunity, and like I don't know if I would have like not done the same, man. Like, and this is another point I wanted to bring up. They don't really explain because in her monologue, if you remember, she talks about the duality of how.
Right.
When you were taking ballet lessons, I was doing this. And when you were on first dates, I was doing this. So, like, does that mean they have a psychic connection and the tethered know what they're doing up top, I guess? Like, she knows what she's doing? Because that would really suck. Not only do you have to mimic them, but you know exactly what they're doing up there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think they do because, like I said, that scene when they're, like, the kids are having fun eating, the ones down there are like, ugh, like, shoveling. Like I don't know what they're doing down there.
They're shoveling, like, but they know that their other is having fun. It seems like, so that's like super fucked.
It's interesting because
there is no bad guy. That's the point. Like it's the condition of your Because
the
like,
bad guy is the United States telling us your place is this place and their place is that place and blah blah. I mean, I get it, but to me, I think I think like when I first watched the movie, I think I was like, okay, well, obviously the bad guys are the one who are doing the home invasion, and the Red in that scene, who's like the one in the red. I'm talking about Red as in like the one who's in the red jumpsuit.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, she's the villain. But when I watched it every time again, I'm like, Adelaide might be the fucking villain of the movie.
I know what you're saying. The only reason I don't say that is because I think the point of the movie it's trying to drive is that Adelaide, after making the switch with the red jumpsuit Red as a kid,
Right.
was able to acclimate and was a good person. She raised a good family and like lived her like with morals and stuff. Like she was able to
That's
in
true.
that thriving society be a good person. So it like, you know, did she do a bad thing?
But she took that away from the real Adelaide as
I
well.
know. Yeah.
So it's almost it's like you can go back and forth on it. It's cool.
Yeah.
I like that I'm questioning who the like I'm liking that.
Yeah, and I think that's the point.
To be.
Yeah.
It is 100%.
Definitely.
Because it's also like the Red down there, she had to go to that extent to have a shot at real life. Like that's the extent that someone like that had to go to just make it for themselves when some people just are it's handed to them, like, you know, whatever that may be, professionally or whatever. So it's interesting. I think it's fascinating, and I do appreciate it. It's just interesting because you can ask 10 people who've seen the movie, and I guarantee that you would get a nice maybe split or whatever. Some people would have a lot of different things to say with their opinion on who the villain is of the movie. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But so let's get to the actual, like, you know, when they're back, you know, Adelaide, they get in the ambulance because she kills Red and she's with the family. And then this is when we get the flashback where she, like, we find out, which again, anyone I think who watches movies should know that she was Red the whole time. But we get the flashback and we see what she did to Adelaide in the mirrors and how she switched them. And it is kind of fucked up the way she drags her and she's like smiling at her when she's taking her shirt and poor Adelaide's chained to the bed. She's like shoving it in her face that she's going to take over her life. I'm like, oh, this fucking bitch.
Yeah.
But then do you think that, because I know after we get that, you know, flashback montage, she looks in the rearview mirror and she looks at Jason. Do you think that Jason knows that she's actually Red, like this whole time? Because they give that look, that exchange at each other.
I think so.
Like, what do you take from that?
I do take.
Do you think
from
that he actually was able to realize that?
I think he was able to pick up on that. Like I said, he's able to pick up on stuff.
Right.
That
because who knows what happened when Red took him away before Adelaide found them? Like who knows what she was getting in his head and talking to him, or even you know, when Pluto was alone with him.
He looks at her differently, and it's intentional. And I think he does.
I think maybe he also looks scared because maybe he saw through the lockers like how she killed Red, and maybe like how she was doing that.
Yeah,
it's like, oh fuck, is she really? Is she really fucking? Like, is she my mom? Like, what's going on?
I would say
I think he's aware though. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that if it wasn't for his connection with Pluto, I would say maybe it's just that, but I think he does know. I think he does know.
I do too.
Yeah.
Which could lead to that could have led to a cool spin-off, like with him. I don't know. Like there's a future, I feel like, to this story.
There is so much to explore in this world. Like I said, you know, he just scratches the surface of this concept of tethered and stuff, and what happens to the tethered at the end of the movie. They all make a statement, and I guess you assume they go coast to coast. They don't show the entire coast being, you know, them holding hands, but they show enough to you get a glimpse that, you know, they're crossing the country.
Right.
So yeah, it's a doozy of an
ending.
That is us. It just leaves you with that, like, oh shit, like pretty. And then
we obviously see the tethered forming. Yeah, it is dark. Then we see them forming the chain of the hands across America, and then, like you said, there's helicopters like approaching overhead, and that's how it ends with that song, the uplifting song. It ends, which is really not uplifting, but I know I sounded like I was a little harsh. It's just because I'm someone who really I want my movie to be the focus, and I love messages and I love things, but I like subtlety. And this was done subtly. It's just there was so much ingrained into it where I'm just feeling like I have to, like, fuck, you can't not take away something from it like that. So I sounded harsher than I am on it because I do love it, and you'll see that when I get to the score. Because I think the actual execution of like the certain scenes, they're A+, and some of them even are better than Get Out. Like how I think he improved as a director filming shit from Get Out to Us overall.
Oh, cool. Why don't we announce? I think. Well, it's not much of an announcement. Let's get into our Never Split Up segment.
Okay.
I think we tied.
Yeah, you can go first. I think I went first last week. I think.
Yeah, I mean,
for Oculus?
since we tied, I was gonna defer to you, but if you want me to go first, that's fine.
Yeah, you can go first. I don't care. I'm not really. I've been slacking with like actually picking up on never split up moments the last couple weeks. So maybe you'll have a
Yeah,
cooler one to just go with first.
uh, I really don't. I'm gonna go conventional. I'm gonna go with the
Okay.
obvious one. I'm sorry
Okay.
if that doesn't help you, but I'm gonna go with young Adelaide. Just
Oh
being a
my god, that's
dumbass.
mine.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Fuck.
I'm
I gotta
sorry.
think. You go.
Like
You go. Because
it's so fucking stupid. Like you're just
It's
like,
so
what is
dumb.
this girl doing? Like, have a little. Like she's old enough to know, like, stranger danger. Don't walk into dark places alone. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
So fucking
yeah.
dumb. I even
Uh,
commented on that in the beginning. I'm like, she's fucking going
yeah,
down there
yeah.
alone.
So my moment is Adelaide. Like, what are
Okay.
you doing, girl? Like, even if you want to wander off from your parents, like, stay on the boardwalk. Don't go into this creepy fun house.
Right.
So stupid. I'm sorry if I
That's
took your
yeah. I mean,
moment, but
that's. I mean, that
that's
is the
the
moment because that
classic.
that's
Yeah,
what started. That's
yeah,
what really led to this revolution at the end. Because maybe if Red never got out, she wouldn't have had they would have never had the tools to come
yeah.
up from the
Maybe
underground,
that's
which is
why
why
I'm
the government
more.
had them under there. Yeah,
Maybe that's why I'm less
yeah.
sympathetic towards her too, and I call her the bad guy because she's so fucking stupid at the beginning. Like you kind of deserve that.
Okay, I'm actually happy that you maybe because now I have the flip side of that. I'm gonna go with which again, that's a great choice. That was my choice. So,
Yeah.
um, I'm gonna go with Adelaide, who's really red. We don't know that. I think that maybe she should have now because she switched herself with the real Adelaide. So she should have been prepared all these years that maybe something like this was going to happen and maybe they were going to have a plan and come up. So I think that home invasion wise, why was Adelaide so shocked that her counterpart was there? Like she knew that she had a counterpart. She knew that this could have happened one day. Like I would fucking
Okay.
have my house rigged with guns and shit and be like, I'm gonna fucking take you out right away once you come in. I would be like, you know what, let's go. So she
Yeah.
wasn't really prepared to fight. I mean, I know she has the fight. It takes her a couple of kills to get to that, but I would go in guns blazing right away if I know I'm like, oh fuck, like she's gonna come for my ass. I gotta kill her right away. So I would have been like, where's the rifles and shit in my house? Like I would have been ready to go. So I think I'll go with because it has to be a moment when they first broke into the house. Like, where was the preparation? Where's your gun? Like, at least get a shot, do something. She just kind of like took it. Like, I know she called the cops. She asked for help, but like, take it into your own hands, girl. Like, she should have taken
Yeah.
them all out right then and there. So that's my flip side because she's aware. I mean, she knows.
Hmm.
So be prepared.
That's kind of what my second pick would have been if you went first.
Yeah.
Kind of similar. What are you doing going back to the fucking boardwalk,
Well,
Santa
right. Why
Monica?
are you
Like,
allowing it?
I would have said no to my husband. Like, we are not under any sort. Like, why is that their
Right.
vacation spot? That's so fucking
Right.
stupid.
And again, did
But
she suppress it for all those years when
I
they
was
left? And
just
when
gonna
she comes
say,
back,
tying
that's
it back
when
to
I
our
don't
last
know.
episode with
Yeah.
Oculus. Maybe
Yeah.
she's young. She was young enough with
Right.
therapy and stuff. She was able to compartmentalize it. She knew something was coming for her because she had those dreams and
Right.
stuff. But I guess because she was young enough, she was able to like disassociate in a way and not
Yeah.
remember that it was completely real. And
I
yeah,
get that. But even
yeah,
when they first came back, she felt off like once they got to the beach to meet their friends. Like she knew she had this sense of
yeah.
doom.
Oh
So
yeah.
like get
That's why I'm
something
saying,
going,
why
girl.
even go
Right.
back there? I would have been a
Right.
hard line no, like to my
Let's
family.
go
We
to
are
fucking
selling
like
I guess that was their vacation home.
Yeah, that
We
was
are
yeah,
selling that
yeah.
house. Let's find a different vacation spot, guys. Yeah.
So yeah, I think she could have handled it like right then and there rather
Yeah.
than having to have all this destruction happen maybe
Okay.
at least with her family. So yeah, um she didn't really she wasn't really smart either.
All right.
They both weren't
Yeah.
smart. Red
No.
and Adelaide were not smart in some
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah. They're
So
both.
that'll be mine.
Yeah.
But I do think that yours is like obviously that's the
Oh,
one that
that
starts it all for
sets
that. So
everything in
yeah.
motion. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So why don't we get into our scores? You can go
Yes.
first since I went first
Okay.
for the Never Split Up. I'm interested to
Okay.
hear yours. We both had an 8.6 for our Get Out
Correct.
score, so keep that in mind.
Correct. Okay.
So yeah, go ahead.
Okay. It's very hard for me because I love both of these movies. They are both I think Us to me is the more straight like it is has more horrific moments. And I do think it blends the humor very well. I think my main critique in Get Out was I wish there was more of a third act fight. I know he pretty much kills the family like pretty swiftly, and I wish that was extended. For here, I almost wish that Jordan Peele focused more on the story a little bit more than the themes. That's my nitpick here. So they're both like not huge nitpicks, but they're nitpicks. But all around, I do think Us is a better directed movie, and I think he shows his like flair, his visual flair. Like I think he really shows how much he loves horror in this movie because there's so many even like nods to other movies, and I do think it's well paced. I think the set pieces in Us, because there's obviously a bigger budget, I don't think really anything in Get Out. Like I think that house scene in Us might be with the Elizabeth Moss might be one of my favorite set pieces of any of his films, all three of them so far. Um, so I do have little nitpicks. I'm gonna go with though. I'm gonna give Us. Oof, I'm gonna give it an 8.5. It's almost tied for Get Out.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I love this movie.
Wow,
I do love it.
yeah.
I know I was harsh, but I had because I wanted to get out my main
Yeah.
grievance of the movie. But
No,
I do love it, man.
Going
I
into
do
this
love it.
episode, I thought it was gonna edge out Get Out. So
It
That's-
depends. Some days I'll choose to like when I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, let me watch a Jordan Peele movie. I will say sometimes I'm like, I'm watching fucking Us. I'm not watching Get Out.
yeah.
But other days I'm like, because Get Out is such a good, well crafted story and
Yeah.
contained, very
Yeah.
contained. You said
Yeah.
contained earlier.
Yeah.
Get Out is contained.
Yeah.
But it's just I think that he balanced the two better in Get Out, story and theming. So that's what edges it out. But all around, they're both top notch. 8.5 for Us.
Yeah. Cool.
I think when I first saw Us, I liked it more than Get Out, but now it kind of settled a little bit. So it's right just beneath Get Out. But I
Yeah,
still
and if
love it.
guys, again, if you haven't listened to our Get Out episode, that was a really good episode. We really go
Yeah.
into that movie
Yeah.
a lot. But kind of similar to you, I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of like the balance of the theming and the story. Dude, Get Out is such a freaking bulletproof movie. Like it's the
Yeah.
pacing. We talked about the pacing when we went over it. Like it's contained, but it's just a ride, man. And the performances, it's so bulletproof. I gave it an 8.6 only because it's not like an all-timer because there's no like iconic characters in it. Like, we got Michael and obviously Ghostface, and so it doesn't go anything over the top, but it's so bulletproof.
Right.
And Us has a few cracks. It's like I said, it's contained in the beginning until it's not, and then it just fucking blows up.
Right.
And the theming is not quite balanced. So I'm very similar to you. I'm gonna give it a little bit lower than an 8.5 though. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna give it an 8 flat. I'm gonna give it an 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you still really like this movie a lot. It's a really
yeah,
good movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
dude.
good.
Jordan Peele, man, he's a fucking modern legend, dude.
He
I
is.
can't wait
He's
for his
killing
4th
it.
movie. Yeah. So 8.5 for you, 8
Okay.
for me, for Us.
Okay, so he's still killing it so far. He's 2-0 for Us pretty much so far
Yes, yeah.
with his movies. We'll get to Nope. That'll be there, and obviously the next Jordan Peele movie we cover. That'll be an interesting one.
Yeah,
For
no,
sure.
but I'm assuming it's on streaming by now or
It
something.
has to be. It's somewhere. It's somewhere.
Yeah.
If
If
I
it's
think it might
not,
be on
we'll
Peacock.
definitely
I
wait
think it
until
might
it's.
be on Peacock though.
Yeah,
No,
I
it's
think
on
you're
Peacock.
right. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay.
I have it, but I haven't rewatched it yet, so I'll have to rewatch it.
I might pick up. I know I'm not a huge physical media guy,
Yeah.
but I might have to pick up that blue.
I
Do they have
think
like a
you I mean,
steelbook or
you-
anything?
Yes, I have it.
You do?
It's
Have
not
you
even
watched
as
it
all
yet?
time for me as you. No, I have to rewatch it.
You
I gotta
haven't
watch the
watched
special
it yet.
features,
I
I
know.
think.
Yeah, I think I might pick
Well,
that
I'm
up.
excited because you really that was your number one movie of 2022 if people don't remember.
Mhm.
So that's going to be a fascinating conversation
can't wait.
because we have
Different
I mean
opinions,
obviously
yeah.
like the movie a lot, but we have
Yeah.
different opinions on it.
Yeah.
So that'll
Cool.
be very interesting because that's the most different from Us and Get Out of the all three movies.
hmm
So
Yeah.
different vibes. But
hmm
yeah, man, Us is a great time.
And Nope was the ones I had least expectations for going in. I covered
Interesting.
this in our review, 2022 review. I didn't see Nope when everyone else did.
Right,
and,
you waited. You waited.
I waited,
Yeah.
and I wasn't expecting like a whole lot because I had mixed reviews, and I was blown away. So Yeah, I can't wait to cover that. It'll probably be in a few weeks, maybe a month or so. We'll space them
Yeah,
out a
yeah,
little
we
bit,
spread
but
it out like sometime like we did Get Out in this. We'll space it out.
yeah, cool.
All right, cool. That was a good conversation. It was hard, guys, because there is so much going on in this movie, and there's like two characters pretty much per actor, so
I
it's
know.
like very interesting
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
But awesome.
So before we wrap up, do you want to make the big announcement for next week? We have a pretty big
Okay,
announcement for the podcast.
so next week we are going to spice it up a little bit, and we're gonna start having guests spread out throughout these episodes. And next week we're gonna have our first guest, my sister. She is going to be coming on, and we're going to discuss the 2000 horror thriller suspense film What Lies Beneath. And that movie is very special to me, so I'm so excited. You can't go wrong with Michelle Pfeiffer and your boy Harrison Ford.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward
So that's next week.
to having her on the podcast, and this is our first guest. Hopefully, there isn't too many technical difficulties. We'll try to
We'll be
limit
good.
those, but should be a fun time.
And we'll get another perspective from someone who's not maybe as into like the geek culture movies as us, but still
Yeah.
likes horror movies. So that'll be a cool, different perspective. Coming in.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. Cool.
Awesome.
So that'll be next week. And until then, this is the Never Split Up podcast. Follow us on social media channels on our Twitter at Never Split Up Pod, as well as Instagram at Never Split Up Pod. You can follow us on Spotify and on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube. That way you never miss an episode. You get notified when there's an episode. So definitely leave us comments. What did you think about us? What did you think about the theming? How did you like the ending? Did the ending take you by surprise? I'm assuming most horror nerds, it didn't take them by surprise, but maybe it did. Do you like it better than us? Yeah. Did it work for you? So, yeah, we want to hear from you guys. Definitely let us know. Keep giving us suggestions, too. We love to hear your suggestions for future episodes. Not just movie reviews, but different ideas for episodes, because we love being creative. I know some of my favorite episodes are when we got a little creative with the Scream episodes and stuff. That was really cool and fun. So,
Cool.
Anything else before we wrap it up?
No, yeah. So just catch up. Catch up on our episodes. We have a lot of good. Some of the movies. Like I liked our episode last week a lot. I thought our Oculus episode was really good. And then we have all that Scream coverage. We have the little smaller episodes spread throughout. Yeah. So I'm excited to go back to cover another supernatural movie next week, kind of esque. It's cool. It'll be fun.
Definitely. Until next week, guys, this is the Never Split Up podcast. We'll see you later. Bye.